if we could have the first order of business would be to decide, we need a first and a second of who will be the chair. Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Vote
Aye.
Okay. Tell me to call the roll. All right. So you
Please
have-
call the roll.
Yeah, we have the minutes in front of us. That was in your packet from our last meeting of, when was that meeting? June the 11th. So if you had a chance to review them, we need a motion to accept the minutes.
I've reviewed them. I motion that we accept them.
And second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, skipped ahead. I guess I need to call the roll. We're all here, Mr. Deox, okay? I just wanted to update you publicly. It's in the minutes of that the Cheesemans from that June meeting, they did comply with everything the board suggested. Hit the time frames that you all set for compliance to call Mr. Stewart in the building department. Came in, next day, got his permit. Within 2 weeks, he had the fence up, repaired, everything's fine. So there was no fine levied upon him. So that seems to all worked out good for all concerned. The next thing on the agenda is the public hearings, which is the first one was the citation number 3-19-942, was issued to Ms. Mesa, 3912 Deer Trail Drive. Mr. Jewett issued the citation so he can take it from there.
On August 16th, according to a Erlanger police report and a report from the county animal control officer, a husky dog was at 822 Doe Ridge, I believe. Yes, 822 Doe Ridge, where according to the owners of a small Yorkie, the dog came onto their property, grabbed the Yorkie, shook it around, and caused other injuries. The husky was restrained. Animal control took control of the animal, and then the animal was then picked up by its owner. When I returned into work that Monday, I was informed of the incident and issued a warning letter to the owner of the husky with a packet for registration of a vicious dog according to our ordinance pertaining to vicious dogs. After 7 days, there was no response to the warning letter, and a citation was issued. And subsequently, the owner of the husky challenged the citation and wanted a hearing in front of the board. And that's where we are today.
And Ms. Mesa is here. If you would like to hear from her, she can come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Levis Mesa. I moved last year to this area. I'm in the United States Army. I've been in the military for the last 20 years. So I got my dog in February this year. She is a female, small. She's still small. She's still a puppy. She is, right, so in August, she was like 7 months. And she's been around all since she was a baby. We got her when she was like less than 8 months. I think like 8 weeks. And I had 4 children, and so I got 3 small children, 10, 3 and 4. So the husky's been never, ever attack anybody, not ever. I got videos that you can see. I got pictures. She's been in the family for a while. We got her since she's is a puppy. It make me, it's hard to believe that she would do that to another dog, because we never have any problem. That day on the 16th, I left to work, my boyfriend went to work, and we left both of the dogs. We got 2 dogs. One is a bigger dog, was in one part of the yard, and we left her in the other part. We have them leashed because at the time we didn't have the electric fence. We were in the way of getting it when that incident happened, and we already have appointment scheduled for them to install that. So on the 16th, I left to work, and like I say, I left both of the dogs leashed to the female dog was on the gate, by the gate, and the dog was on the other side of to a tree. They were leashed, both of them. Someone came to my backyard, unleashed the puppy, the small dog, and I don't know what happened. I don't know how she got to her house and did that. It's hard for me to believe that this dog did that, because like I said, she's still a puppy. She's not like a dog right now. So for her to go and attack this dog, and I have children, and this dog being around our children, since February, and never present any attempt to attack my kids or attack the other dog. Like, if you want to see pictures, I got pictures of the dog. I got a videos too. You can see how she react with my kids. So what I got from her is, this is what the note. I even have a letter from my neighbors next door that knows Ceci. Also, I got this that she left on my door, and also I got paperwork that she's suing me for money. So I don't know. Like I said, it's hard for me to believe that the dog did that. It's hard for me to believe that that she unleashed herself. I'm just going to leave it as it is. You want to see my dog? She's outside. She can come in, and you can see how she reacts. She's really, really nice dog.
I'd like to see the pictures and the letter from the neighbors and the video. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay. So she's this one. She's the, say the table which one she is. She's the small one, yeah. We'll look at the videos when we go in there in a moment.
Ms. Macy, can I get copies? Could I make copies of those letters to put with the file? Okay. Whenever you're finished with it. Just so I keep it with the file.
She's husky, yes. Yes, sir.
So she'll get as large as, is your other one a husky as well?
I'm sorry.
Is your other dog a husky as
Yes,
well?
they both are husky, yes.
So she'll get as large as, the other one's full grown.
The other one, Baby, his name is Baby, the big one is Baby, the little one is Sassy, that's the one that they want to put her as a vicious dog. Like I said, on that day, I left the dog leash, like she was attached to the gate, and somehow it got unleashed, and that was not ripped. The leash wasn't even ripped. It was just like someone came to the house and unleashed the dog.
So, just to make sure we're clear, you leashed the dog in your backyard?
Yes, sir, it's fenced. My backyard is fenced. Yes, because we were in the how you call it, and on the way to put an electric fence, and that way they can just, not being.
And the backyard has an enclosed fence
Yes, sir.
with a gate
Yes, sir.
that latches?
It has
Yes,
a wood,
sir.
it has a wooden fence, right?
What-
Is that a wooden fence?
Yes, sir.
So it's
Yes.
not like a chain link fence?
It's a wood. It's a wood with
With the web?
yes, with the yes.
So a dog normally wouldn't be able to get out
No.
if
no.
it's got a gate that is in fact latched.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah.
And the leash was not broken or torn or chewed or
No, sir.
damaged in any way?
No, sir, it wasn't. And like I said, we left one dog on on one side, and we left the other one on the other side, and she was the one that get away. So, like I said, the door, it have a latches. Those, someone has to open and came in and probably unleashed the dog.
When you left, was there anybody home with the dogs?
No, sir.
When you returned, was the door unlatched or open, the fence door?
It was locked. That's why they make us believe that, someone came in, because there is no way how the dog would.
It was latched or it was locked?
When we came back, I believe it was locked. I believe it was locked. I believe.
But how did the dog get out of the fence?
We don't know. I don't have cameras in the house, so I cannot tell you, sir, how it got out. Because like I told you, I don't have. She was leashed, and it wasn't ripped. The leash wasn't ripped at all. So I don't know how she got out. I don't know how.
How far is it from where you live to where it attacked the other dog? How far?
How far is like pretty much in.
I might be able to help with that. I printed off the diagram of the PDA, and I think this one is 3912. Ms. Mesos, and this one, and then, what did I put? Oh, yeah, this is Doe Ridge. I don't know if you can verify that looks approximately correct. Or that you guys.
Looks like it's just around the corner and
Oh,
maybe
Yeah,
four-
I really
This is where the
don't.
dog-
four houses
That's what I'm
up.
saying.
This is
It
where-
wasn't very far.
It's about 2 blocks,
2 blocks?
roughly that distance.
So 3912 is where the husky lives. So you said the gate, it locks or just, you just latch it?
It's latched.
It latches.
It's latched, yes. It's not locked like, I think means, it's not
Yes.
locked with a lock, a latch. That's
Right.
what I meant by that, yes. Sorry.
So if your yard is fenced in with the webbing around the wood, why did you have your dogs on a leash in your yard?
Why would they keep them?
Why did you put them on a leash if they couldn't get out of the yard?
Because sometimes they do escape, that's why,
Okay.
yes.
And is that why and why were you going to get the electric fencing?
Correct, that's the
That's the reason why,
Yes.
okay.
That's why we keep them on the leash while we're, trying to
Okay.
get the electric. And around that time, we already have the appointment made for it.
Okay.
And like I say, it happened before all this incident.
Do you have the electric fencing now?
Yes, yes, we got it.
Is the electric fence in the front yard and the backyard now?
Yes,
Both, okay.
yes, both, yes. The whole area around the house. is like-
So does that mean you leave the backyard, you open the gate and let the dogs run in the front too?
No, just the back.
Okay.
Just the back. We just leave them in the back. That's where we keep them. Sometimes, when we're home, we bring them in front if we're in front of the house. But normally, we just leave them in the back. That's where they stay.
So if I understand correctly, you were given a notice and you failed to reply to that notice, and you had 7 days? Is that correct?
I came over here, and as soon as I got that, I talked to Mr. Yeah, I talked to him, and he told me that I was supposed to be receiving another letter within a week, and I didn't receive that letter that he was talking about. So finally, I got another letter, and that's when I came within the same day, and I talked to him about it. I said, this is the letter that I first received. I know he told me that I was supposed to be getting another letter, but I never got it. And then that was the third letter that I received, and that's when I came and talked to him, because I was waiting because I told him I was going to come and talk to, be in front of and talk for my dog to not be a vicious dog, and that I was going to fight it for it. So, and he gave me the steps, and like I say, I was waiting for that letter, but somehow I never received that letter. And then I received the third letter. That's when I came and talked to him again, and told me, he directed me what I need to do in order to come over here and fight for it.
Do you all understand the ordinance, the way it's written, of why the citation was issued?
So I think it's because if a dog bites someone or attacks someone,
Or another domestic animal?
they have to then be registered as a vicious animal.
That's correct.
And I guess there's no concern about the age of the dog.
Age doesn't matter, size doesn't matter. If the dog leaves its property and chases or attacks another animal or a human without provocation, it's considered vicious. So we've got pit bulls on the list, we have Rottweilers on the list, we have Chihuahuas on the list. It doesn't matter.
And it's just, they come in and have to register the dog as vicious, and then there's some steps, what they have to do.
Right, so in other words, an electric fence is not enough for a vicious dog.
According to the ordinance, you have to have a fence, regulation, standard fence that the city authorizes, which is, was that 6 feet? I think is the tallest.
6 feet in a residential zone,
Residential,
6 foot's the tallest it can
Right.
be.
And it has to have a locking or latching mechanism, and it has to be designed in such a way that the dog cannot go over or under the fence.
So the citation is because her dog was not,
No,
she didn't register her dog, is that
Right, she-
correct?
She was issued a warning letter with a registration packet, was left at the house and mailed. And she, after 7 days without a response, I mailed a citation. She received the citation, met with me here at the city building and advised me she had never received the first letter, which was the warning packet. Since the citation had already been issued, I told her that she could, if she felt that the citation was in error and that these events did not occur, she had the right to appeal the citation to the board, and that's what she did.
But she's not denying that it didn't happen.
I don't believe it happened.
Yes, she
I
said,
don't believe, I'm gonna be honest, sir, I don't believe that, that happened.
But did someone see it happen?
Yes, I think we'll hear from her next.
Okay.
So let me ask you too, as far as the fencing then, so the fencing she has right now is not adequate under a vicious dog rule? Because it's the wooden with the webbing or
right,
whatever.
not if the dog can get over or under it, no, it's not.
So what kind of fencing, so the fencing, if she would want to put a fencing up, would have to be, like you said, 6 feet, and something the dog cannot get over,
Right.
but a dog may be able to get over 6 feet, that big.
If, according to the ordinance, if that were the case, if the fence does not keep the dog in, the dog has to be kept indoors or in
Kennel, enclosed.
like an enclosed kennel.
When they're outside?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe he talks about a muzzle or.
If the
muzzle.
dog is being walked by the owner, it has to be on a leash and has to be muzzled at all times.
And how long have you had your other dog?
For 5 years now.
So what you're questioning is the citation or the registration of your
Both.
dog as a vicious dog, or both?
Both, sir. Yes, I don't
Both.
want to register my dog as a vicious dog because I don't believe she is. She's a really nice dog, and I'm fighting both of them.
Okay.
I don't believe that she's danger to anybody. Yes. If you want to see her, like I said, she's outside. You can see how she is. She's a loving, dog. It's hard to believe that she will hurt another animal. It's really hard. Like I say, I got small children, and they play with her all the time, and she's good. She never attacks, anybody.
Thank you. I guess
Thank you.
if,
Things that I sent to him, can you show that to them? Do you want to show it at the beginning or at the end?
How do you spell your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Amy Lyerly, Lirely. I live at 822 Doe Ridge Drive, which is about 2 blocks from where this happened. You go up Doe Ridge and it's a street off of it. They live on the first corner. I've been at this residence for 15 years. I can honestly say we have never had a problem like I have experienced this summer. I'm here to support Officer Jewett's citation because my dog was viciously attacked, and I will show you the photos the day that that dog was attacked, what I had to go through. I had to take time off from work the full day that day. I didn't even know if he was going to make it that day. I called animal control when this happened, and you'll see the video of it. That was the aftermath of this attack, and my dog jumping around in the yard screaming out in pain, and my boyfriend having this husky by its collar. This homeowner has 2 dogs, as she has mentioned to you. She has a larger dog and a smaller dog, and the fencing that she's talked about is the split rail fence with the chicken wire between it. And I have a photo of the day that I went down to her residence. This is her house. And the day that I walked down there and I left a note on her door telling her to contact me because animal control had picked her dog up at my residence after this attack. We tied it to the front tree of my yard while we took my vet emergency to the vet up here in Erlanger. When we went down there that day, this is her fence, this is the dog that attacked it. It was on a cord that was smaller than my finger, and it was under on this side of the fence in the front yard. So that's exactly the fence and where the dog was.
So the dog's sitting outside of the yard at this point.
Outside, it dug under, there's a
Did you just say there's a spot under the fence that the dog had dug to go under the fence?
Because when we walked down there, when we first got there, the dog was on the backside of the fence. And when we came back out in the driveway, I took this picture that day, and he had come under the fencing, like underneath, like that area right there. He had crawled underneath it, was sitting outside that fence with a cord that literally was smaller, it looked like a piece of yarn, that's how small it was. The dog, my Tom, the one that I have on my dog is this big, he's 3.5 pounds, so it wasn't enough. This is what my dog looks like. He's 3.5 pounds. He's about as big as this piece of paper, very tiny. So the two dogs are always in the backyard, according to our neighbors, and I've walked the neighborhood after this incident. They are left in this yard for hours upon time. When this dog was in my yard, it had a small little collar around its neck, and like I said, we witnessed the piece that was probably, like I said, like this cord holding him in, which has not kept him in. I sent Officer Jewett some Nextdoor app comments that I have here, if you'd like to read it. I think he shared them with me because I emailed them to him. This dog gets out all the time. The Nextdoor neighbors, they always say, that dog is out. I have a report from Animal Control. They've picked that dog up 3 times. So my neighbors down the street, I went to find out who had seen this dog out. Everybody down on the Deer Trail side had seen this dog out. This dog has been all the way up in Edgewood, Kentucky. So when she says that the dog never gets out and it never attacks anyone or goes after anyone, that is not what we see in that neighborhood. This dog goes after small children, is aggressive, and she may say that this dog is fine with her family or her kids. Well, that's true. Most bigger dogs or dogs are more, in tune with their family. But if a stranger comes in or another dog, they're territorial. And Huskies are known to be, 1, escape artists, and 2, aggressive, other than with their families. So on August 16th, around 9 a.m., my boyfriend was sitting out on my front porch with my dog on a leash, sitting probably about 3 feet from him, drinking a cup of coffee. All of a sudden, he bangs on the door and screams to me, "Get out here, I need you." I come running out. My dog, and you'll see in the video, is jumping around, screaming. He's got blood just oozing out of him. He had 6 puncture wounds because the husky was running at large, runs into my yard, and what we think happens, he saw my boyfriend, but when he approached him, he saw my dog. He grabbed my dog, and Ray said he shook him violently. So when I come out, my dog is screaming in pain, and there's blood all over the grass. I go to pick him up, and I'm like, oh shit, he's got blood just oozing all over him. Well, I'm a nurse, so I took that pretty heavily and emotional, because it's like a child to me. Just like anyone else has a dog or a cat, that they become part of your family. So when I get out there, I grab him. Ray has the husky, you'll see in the video, by the collar. And I told him, I said, tie him up. I said, and I went in the house and got a towel, wrapped it around him to apply pressure to get the blood to stop. So he's screaming out in pain at me. We get out, and I open the door, and you'll see that in the video. I said, tie him up, and we gotta go. I mean, he was bad. So we get here to Erlanger Veterinarian Hospital. I drop him off, and again, I don't know if he's gonna make it or not. And at that point, he was like in shock. And I've never seen that little guy act like that. So when the vet calls me, she said, well, we had to start IV fluids, and he's got 2 fractured ribs, and it's not just broken, they're separated. And those ribs may, at some point, if you pick him up the wrong way, could puncture something else. He's got 6 holes that were like this deep. And the top, and I'll show you the photo on the phone, down the front of his left leg, it went all the way to the bone. It gashed it so hard, and they had to staple it back up. He had lung contusion, so he was coughing, and she said, you're gonna have to keep an eye on him because, as I know, he may collapse a lung because he was violently shaken, like a shaken baby. So we've got 6 puncture wounds that I have to deal with. There's air under the skin that got in under these holes, so he's got like crackling, and she said we gotta be careful with that because that's what may potentially cause a lung to collapse. The gash in his leg, 2 fractured ribs. So that day, it was just emotionally trying for me. So by about 5 o'clock, the vet's office said, well, we want to keep him overnight. And I'm like, no, I'm a nurse. I'm going to take my baby home. If I need to, I'll bring him back tomorrow, which I had to. So I go and get him. I come home, and I calm down enough. Well, I've already talked to the Animal Control Board, and I've called down and left a message at the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office. Because after I spoke with a few of my neighbors and I got the Nextdoor apps, that this dog is constantly out, there's no supervision, and then it wasn't until after this attack she had the little flags for this electric fence. And a neighbor told me that was the only reason that she got an electric fence was because I filed a complaint with the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office for her dog running at large. Which brings me to the next thing. Like Mr. Jewett said, we have laws and ordinance in our city that are here to protect us as residents of this county. I've lived in Kenton County 52 years. I've lived in Erlanger for 15 years. I abide by the laws, and I expect my other residents in my neighborhood to do the same. And I feel like when I went down there that evening, I put a note on her door because I'm not sure if they were home or not. I don't know if they were, but I put my cell phone number, please call me about the dog attack today. Well, here we are, that was August 16th. We're here October 7th or 8th, and she has yet to contact me. So she left me no reason than to go ahead and do what I needed to do to get restitution. I'm out $2,500. $2,000 of that is in vet bills alone. And the other $500 is for my lost time from work because I had to take off that full day on Friday morning and then hours here and there to take him to the vet. And I expect to be paid back for that because I figure that she is an irresponsible homeowner, pet owner. She knows this dog gets out numerous. The Nextdoor apps go all the way back to April. If she got the dog in February, that means there might have been other incidents, but we don't know. But my neighbors were kind enough to put it on the Nextdoor app, and I have copies of it that I sent to him that he'll show you. Animal Control's picked up the dog 3 times. I filed a police report. I went through everything I needed to do to make sure that this will not happen again. But her not responding to me, that just shows a blatant disregard for the safety of others, whether it be children, animals, anyone in our neighborhood. And if she says it didn't happen, everybody says the dog is always out. Here are the Nextdoor apps. So again, I've lived here 15 years, and I have to follow the laws that you all put in place. And there are dog laws. There are leash laws. And it's no excuse that she wasn't home and that she says someone let her dog out. I don't believe that. I think that the dog got out because, as I showed you in that picture, he can get out and that little cord that he was on would have snapped and he would have been gone. So at this time, like I said, I'm asking the city of Erlanger to order Miss Mesa or Bastillo to register that dog as a vicious dog. It has attacked my dog, and I'll show you the photos of it so you can see the injuries. And I want her to take immediate action to secure those dogs so they don't get out anymore. An electric fence. My neighbor down the street called me one morning. She said, well, electric fence is not working. He's out again. And they were chasing him down in the truck at the bottom of her street, and she called me. So the electric fence is not good enough. And again, she didn't do that until I filed charges against her with the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office. She's not made one attempt to contact me. So last week, I had to retain an attorney to prosecute her. I have to go after her legal. I have to do what I have to do to get my money back that I'm out because of her irresponsibility. And I think it's the city's duty to us as residents in this city to protect us. You serve and protect us. That's what your duty is. And I don't want these types of ordeals to happen again, either to me or someone else. And that's why I made it a point to be here this evening, to show you, and the video is disturbing. But I respectfully request that she be ordered to follow through with the citation as Officer Jewett gave her, register that dog as a vicious dog, and do whatever she has to do to keep that dog contained. Or if not, then she maybe needs to move or get rid of that dog. because it'll do it again. And if it does, then I'm going to be back up here. And if it's not my dog and it's somebody else, you're going to see me again, because I will be here to support that I've told you that I had the experience, and if it happens to someone else, which I don't have the documentation, but the neighborhood said this dog, when he is out, goes after other dogs and small children on their bicycles. So that's a safety issue. So again, I respectfully request that she have to follow through with the citation and register her dog as a vicious animal. And if our dog laws need to be changed, or I need to do something more, please tell me. I'll be more than happy to come to any meeting and do that. But if they need to be changed, or if not, I think the law that you read, the ordinance, it's strict enough and it needs to be followed. And again, because she did not respond to me, I had to retain an attorney to pursue her legally, which if I told her in the letter that she received on Saturday morning that if I did not have the $2,500 from her in a cashier's check by today, that I would be forced to file a lawsuit against her, and I plan on doing it. So if you would show them, I know the video.
If I could, just
Or
one
if you have any
moment.
questions.
Just, and then may have some questions for you, but I just want to, there's nothing we can do about your legal action.
I
mean,
understand that.
And all this board is ruling on is the citation that Officer Jewett issued.
Exactly, I understand that.
So that's all
Separate.
that they.
It's totally separate.
That's all
Yes,
they do.
I understood.
Okay.
Okay. And before he shows that, I will show you the photo. This was the day. that
Did
it
you
happened.
say that there are 3 other documented cases of this dog getting out?
I sent you the animal control report. It's that thick of all the times it's been
If you look
reported.
at-
These are the next door apps where people are saying, who owns this dog? That's the dog.
Yeah, you sit right there.
So that's on April 3rd. That's in our neighborhood. And they're like, who owns this dog? And then it continually gets loose. He said the dog belongs to the house on Deer Trail across from the box, and that's 3912 Deer Trail. Erlin says the dog's mine. Then on May 12th, it's out again. And then on May 18th, it's out again. You have my cell number, call me. Then the neighbor's saying, this happens far too often. So it's not an isolated event, and I find it hard to believe that somebody would have went in and unlatched the dog. But these are the puncture wounds in his leg. That's your dog. My dog. Actually, to his leg, that's the side that has the tubular fractures. It's more up close. That was like a gaping hole that was probably about that deep. And this is the other side. So you grab him around the back of the neck, and all these puncture wounds, there's a puncture wound down here, and all just like you grab him by the neck and you place it and just shook. And like I said, he's about this big, this red cat counts, and on top of it, he was arrested. But when I got him, I spent like 4 weeks, so I had rehabilitated him. He was a nervous Millie anyway, but now when he goes outside, he's always like doing the skating thing. And so am I, because when I walk out, I had a golf club, and now I've got a little taser. So if this dog ever comes in my yard again, I'll be able to protect myself and my dog. You have the video. This was from my Ring doorbell. So, this is where Ray was sitting right there, the dog was sitting right there with him.
Can we see it one more time?
You see the dog even try to turn around like it wants to go back. The sounds comes in the door, I come out and I grab him. That's her dog. I verified it with other neighbors. Animal Control says it's the same dog that came to be picked up. The lady that I talked to, 3 times, she said that they've had, and I've got the paperwork from Animal Control, which you should have a copy of. I think I sent him. But the dog gets out all the time. And here's the report. Animal Control actually met me to give me the information about filing at the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office because I said this can't happen again. And the dog is aggressive. And then you could see in the video now that I watch it again, the dog's trying to turn around to go back and go after my dog again. So how she can say that it's not vicious? Well, maybe not to your family, but it attacked my dog. And I know that you can't do anything about what, but she's not so much as even made an attempt to call me, which I just think that that's just poor, and you are responsible for your animal. And I will take this up further. And like I said, my attorney sent her a letter, and I said I would have money today in a bank cashier's check, or I will seek legal action against her, and I plan to do that. But again, I respectfully request that you make her abide by that citation and register that dog. Thank you.
Ms. Mesa, do you recognize the dog in the video?
Yes, yes.
And that is your dog?
Yes, my dog, yes, correctly. And the reason she's saying that my dog, after the fence have been put in, the dog has escaped, is not escaping. And this is the note that she left me. She didn't address for me to call her. She said in this note, have your homeowner insurance agent call me. She didn't say call me. She said call your insurance and have them call me. That's why I didn't intend to call her. Other than that, she would have told me to call her. I would definitely, me and her would have talked about it. Yes. But they didn't tell me.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. Ms. Mesa, if you knew your dog was getting out sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you weren't at home, why didn't you leave the dogs in the house?
I left her on leash, like I told you. That's why I
Wait,
started
but
when they.
why didn't you leave them in the house when you're out?
I didn't leave them in the house.
Yes.
Inside.
Yes.
Because I let them outside leash and they don't escape. And the leash that they have, yes, it might be this thick, but it's something that it won't be able to break because it's like it's unbreakable. I don't know how to. The
So,
name of it.
so you were 100% sure that the dog was not going to get out of the yard that day because of the leash?
Exactly. Yes, yes, ma'am. And the leash didn't break. Like I was telling you, someone has to came and got the dog on leash. It's not like it was broke or anything. That's why when we start, because these 3, like she said, they've been escaping, that's when we start putting on leash, and that's when I make the appointment for, and that's way before the dog. I didn't do it because what happened with her dog. She said, no, I did that previous, that I make the appointment, they just didn't have to come come right away. They have to wait until they have the time to come. So by the time that incident, I already have the appointment for them to come and put because that wasn't the plan since we moved into the house. To
Okay.
put a electric fence. And that dog never have followed other kids like she was saying.
Well, let me
It's
ask you,
natural.
let me ask you this. So now you've seen the video, and you
Yes.
saw your dog did attack another dog, so now you believe it, right? It was, I mean, I could see it in the corner of the first part of the video. I could see the little dog in the husky's mouth. Did you see that? So do
No,
you
not
believe?
really. I
Okay,
didn't
so do you believe that happened? And you said that was your dog? Do you believe that happened now, or you still doubt that?
I didn't see the video very well, to be honest.
Okay.
I had probably have to come closer to see it.
Okay, can we show it again from the very beginning? You want to come up here by the screen? If you look to the very left of you look at the very left of the screen, at the very, very beginning, if you look at the husky's mouth, I believe you'll see the dog in the husky's mouth. Right there, before he even starts it, he has the dog in his mouth, I believe. So when he starts it, you'll see the dog be dropped. Yep. Okay, so did you see that then? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I could see where that she thought she was playing with a toy and she was shaking it around, possibly, right?
She's never been around the dog. Now that
Right.
I've seen the dog, I see
Yeah.
that she's back, and I'm going for it. And like I say, I don't think she did it because she wanted to hurt the dog.
Right.
You know, the dog, since it's small, she probably wanted to play with the dog, hurt the dog.
So, and then they said that the dog has been out since you've had the electric fence.
No, she haven't. No. She haven't
I
not been
think-
out since then, no.
Well, I think that Ms. Larry said, yes. Okay.
Not since then.
Please
No,
address
ma'am.
to the board, talk to the board.
Well, let me just ask you, okay, so the other thing I want to ask is if instead of a dog was sitting next to him in the front yard, if it was a baby in a little pumpkin seat, and your dog had wanted to play with the baby and had picked up the baby and shook it around and did what it had done to this little dog, would you still say your dog would not be considered vicious just by the act, not because of the intent of the act, but by the act? In other words, if there's a chance that your dog would get out of the yard again, and this time find a little child in a pumpkin seat, sitting in a parent's yard, in their porch, it could do the same thing, right? Because it doesn't know any better, maybe, if it's doing it to play. It could do the same thing, right? And would you want that to happen?
Of course not. And
Okay.
like I said, since the electric fence, that dog has not been out. And that's, I promise you, and I will swear in my life, that dog has not been out since the electric fence has been put up.
Okay, that's the only questions I have. Anybody else want to?
Board have any further questions? Yeah.
Or another dog. I'm not putting children in front of the dog. Um,
I'm surprised the dog is so calm and not trying to get her boyfriend. When he was holding it back,
Right.
but he must have had a good enough hold on, that dog wasn't gonna move, that dog got scared and wasn't gonna do anything. I think it's.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, it's not the intent, the dog's intent, but what the dog is able to do to another animal or a person is really at stake here. And the ordinance, I think, is that it's a shame too, the only way to know if the dog would do something like that would be to let it happen one time. But if anybody would allow a second chance for that to happen, then it would really be irresponsible. So, I mean, there are remedies. When you register a vicious animal, you don't have to get rid of the dog. You can do the remedies for it, or you have the dog since this year, right? You know, you have other options too. What would she have to do? She'd have to put in a new fence or put a cage in the backyard.
You have to, once a dog is considered to be vicious by city ordinance, they have to fill out a form that is sent to me for record-keeping purposes, has the name of the dog, a photo of the dog, its breed, everything else. They have to supply me with documentation from a veterinarian stating that the dog has had its rabies shots and is microchipped. The dog has to be spayed or neutered. And once I have that information, they also have to provide me with information from their insurance agents showing that they have a policy in case something like this were to happen again of at least $100,000. And once I have all that information, I then issue them a tag that the dog has to wear on its collar at all times. If the dog if they plan to leave the city, or if the dog should, for some reason, die of old age or something like that, they're to inform the city that the dog is either deceased or they're moving, and then they return the tag and it's removed from our system.
So if we find that, yes, you do have to register the dog as a vicious animal, a vicious dog, what do you plan to do? Well, I mean.
First of all, you all
Oh, okay.
can't make her do anything.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna make no,
Right.
I'm just, what does she know what her choices are? Right, I mean,
Well,
I think it's all spelled out in the
Right.
regulations 91.02.
right.
okay.
To do.
Well, the first thing we need to do, there's a few motions that we have to go through here to do whenever you all are finished with the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, do we have any more questions?
I don't, yeah, I'm good.
Well, I think we need to vote on two issues here.
There'll be
Number
three
one-
separate things. that we'll do.
Three separate things?
Three separate things.
One is decide if this is in fact a vicious dog, according to the regulations. Number two is uphold the citation or not, and I'm not clear on what the third.
The first motion we have to make is by the evidence you saw, is it her dog?
Oh.
Okay.
I understand, but those are the things that we got to do and get on the record. That's the first motion that you'll have to do. The second is it was the citation issued, was it proper to issue the citation?
Right.
And then the third thing is the fine that was levied by the citation, since it's the first offense, is $100. The board they have to decide to make the fine since she appealed the citation from $0 to $500. And that's, or you can make it, and then make it, you know, put some provisions in there also, and just like we did you all did at the last meeting. If they do this, then the fine is this, you know, those sorts of things. So the first thing is a motion to, if the dog belongs to Miss Mason.
So is it my responsibility to ask for?
Yes.
So is there a motion on if this,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And the second is the citation, is it a valid citation?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So
And then the third is you need to decide on the fine or, you know, the fine with, the citation was issued since it's the first citation, the most, or it's a $100 citation. But the board, if somebody appeals that citation, then the board can make it maximum of $500.
I thought we were going to, and maybe I'm not clear on this, vote on whether this in fact was a vicious dog.
Well, when you say that the citation is held up,
That's defining it
that is
as a
saying
vicious
that it's a
dog?
vicious dog.
Okay.
Because
So
that is what the citation was issued for.
Okay,
Was for them not registering the dog and because it's vicious.
okay, so the
Deemed
cite,
by the code enforcement
so
officer.
the citation is what identifies it as a
Yes.
vicious dog?
So,
Do you want the ordinance definition for vicious dog? Would that?
No, I've got it in front of me,
Okay,
thank
okay,
you.
Okay.
we understand that. My thing is, okay, since, if we uphold the citation, it's considered a vicious dog, so she's gonna have to comply with the rules. My
Well,
feeling is if she
yes.
complies with the rule, it's a vicious dog and gets everything taken care of like she's supposed to, I would have no problem not fining her on the first offense.
Well, that's, if
That's
you want
my
to make
opinion.
that in the form of
As
a
long
motion,
as-
that's what we'll do.
As long as she does what the citation tells her, she has to register the dog as a vicious dog and do what she's got to do to her home to protect other people, yes, I wouldn't have no problem not fining her on her first offense. But within so many days, if it's not done, then I think we would have to enforce something.
I have a question, as far as if the way she complies with it is to put the fencing up that's 6 feet tall, and then the dog gets over that, then she has to do the cage, right? Okay.
And the way that works, just so you know, that if you all do just what Mr. Dunhoff said, if that's what your motion is, and she doesn't do anything, then Officer Jewett would come over and she would get a citation again it'd be the second violation, and she'd get another citation for $250.
Or if at some point the dog gets over that fence, if that's what she does, puts a fence up, and at some point the dog goes over it, then she's responsible for that, the dog got over it, and so then she'd get another citation at that point. Okay,
Correct.
right.
I assume she would be given the regulations as we've been given the same, so she would know what to do.
Like I said, she did not receive the packet that I left, so I'm going to go and make another copy of it. It's the ordinance, it's what spells out everything the homeowner has to do, which also includes the registration. Just gonna go back and copy.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Well, that's going to be up to the board. I think if she needs to put in a new fencing, you have to give her the time to do that. So my guess would be until that is done, the dog would have to be kept inside. Or if it's
It
outside,
would
it
have
has
to be-
with a person on a leash with a muzzle.
don't meet the requirements. On top of that, I got the electric fence.
It would currently, there's no specification for an electric fence in the ordinance. The ordinance basically states that it has to be a visible fence, which conforms to all the other requirements of all other city ordinances, which is constructed materials of sufficient height and strength to prevent the vicious dog from penetrating or going over or under the fence, which each entrance and exit is controlled by a gate that automatically closes, latches, or locks. So
It
that
doesn't
they can
have
have
to be like high, because like I said, right now I got already have a fence. I can fix whatever, but I don't have the money to replace the whole fence around my, especially when I already spent like quite money, like close to 3,000 for my electric fence. So I don't have money to put a new fence if it has to be like 6 feet tall. I think
That's something I leave the board. It's, you have to understand that if you leave the existing fence and the dog is not, if the dog is able to get out.
Normally they get out under, so we can, we can fix to, like to fix around, but not to put a brand new fence up.
What about, do they call it a cage? What do they call it? That's probably not the right term.
Kennels.
The kennels. What about a kennel in your backyard to put the dog in? Essentially has a floor, sides, and a top, and you put it in, and you lock the gate, lock the door into the kennel.
That's generally what I recommend to people, that it's something like that. You can get them in various sizes and lengths, so the dog has an area to move around. It's big enough to put a dog house in or some form of shelter, and with it being latched and secure, there's no way the dog's getting out. It's in a confined space, it's not getting out. It's just something you have, one of the other options you can look at.
I prefer because to fix under, because that's how normally how they, they got out. So fix under to put them in a restricted area. We don't keep them now as much outside unless we home. That when we get them out, or they're inside the house.
So if you would fix the under part, what would you fix it with? The same fencing that's
We
there
have-
now, or a
No,
chain link
We
fence?
have to look into, we probably have to find someone who does fence and see what the opinion is. But we willing to fix, because that's how they normally, going under, so that's, we can fix it.
I don't know how high the wooden fence is. So if it can't get underneath it, it could,
They
Yes.
don't go on, I'm sure they will not go.
well, I mean,
over.
if they can get under it now, I can see why they wouldn't go over it, but
It's not, I
So
don't think
it
they
goes
would
up-
jump that, I don't think it's like 4, I think it's like 5.
It goes up to the split rail, the top of the split rail,
Correct.
and not any higher.
Correct, yes, it's like 5, I don't think it is 4.
Yeah.
okay. And Ms.
Okay.
Mason, my concern is that the dog's going to get out again. And so while you're trying to remedy this, the dog's going to continue to get out again and again and again and
Man,
again.
I put the electric fence and it works, and they've been in the, since more than a month and they haven't escaped, so it does work. I have them come and training the dog, and they have not been gone since, they have not been leave the pattern since then.
But we've heard testimony that the dog did get out after you had the electric
No,
fence.
they didn't, man. I already told you they didn't. They did not escape since last time we put that was back at the end of August, the dogs have not been escaped from the property.
But that's the same thing you said when you didn't believe your dog did it until you saw the video. So I can't necessarily think that you know for sure that the dog didn't get out
I
with the
know they
electric
haven't got
fence.
out, man. I pay acquired money for something that it was. I paid the invisible fence, I paid close to $3,000 for it, and it does work.
I wanted to mention the part about the fine.
Well, that's where we are here,
Okay.
is what is at the fine part. So,
Um,
we need a motion on to uphold the fine or whatever you all want to do with provisions or however you want to
Right.
handle it.
Mr. Dunhoff, just because the nature of what happened, I would agree that we don't want to give her a higher fine because she contested it, but I do think she should be fined $100 because there was damage done. I do think that would be, yeah.
Is that the
Right.
form of a motion?
What, do we have to put the conditions on it? Oh, okay, wait, should we
Yeah.
do it all together? or-
You can do it all together, or you can do it,
I mean, that's just my thought about the fine.
I would say you
We-
do it all together.
I think what has to happen is somebody has to, in our group,
Mhm.
has to make a motion, and then it has to be seconded, and then we vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
don't know
think
how
that's
you feel
the process.
about that. I make a motion that we leave the fine at $100.
I second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think it's fair. Since she's gonna go through a lot of expenses, I just didn't wanna see us fine her all at $500 when she can use that money to
Right.
pay for things she's gonna have done for the dog, so
Right.
I'm kind of feeling like, and if she
I agree with
doesn't,
that.
if we come back again, we can add it back.
Right, right. Yes.
So the fine is upheld for $100. Okay.
Yeah, so she will be required to register the dog as a vicious dog. Is that a correct statement?
Well, that's, yeah,
Okay.
that's a requirement. So-
And is there a
but-
time frame for that, I guess?
Well, if,
That would be,
I guess it has to be within 7 days. If she doesn't, then since you all have made for the $100 fine, in 7 days, if she's not in compliance, that means she's not in compliance with that letter, so the second citation would be issued to her if it's not.
She would have to receive final notice for $100 fine.
Well, she has.
No, I received that, because she.
Oh, okay.
So she, now that you're saying you want $100 fine to stand, in 7 days, I have to issue, if she has not paid the city $100 fine, I have to issue a final order. 14 days from that, I can then issue a second citation. During that period, that 7-day period, she can start the process of filling out the paperwork and getting the information she needs from the vet and everything else to me. Like I said, about the age of the dog, I'm not sure how old your dog is, 7 months?
But now it's about probably around 10 months now.
10 months?
Yeah.
She might be old enough to have the procedure done. If that's the case, she would have to schedule that. I would need the name and the phone number from the veterinary office, I can confirm that an appointment has been scheduled for the procedure. And then once that's done, the dog will meet all the requirements as far as being able to stay in the city.
And then as far as either the fencing or the kennel, the dog has to remain inside the house
Until that's,
until that's been put in place, which means.
And that's in the ordinance.
yes,
Okay.
it has to be kept inside. If they don't have the fencing to keep it inside, it has to stay inside the building, it says. Because it has to be securely confined and restricted to private property.
Okay.
So when you're not at home, the dog has to stay in the house.
Yeah.
In the-
If you walk the dog, it has to, once again, it has to be on a leash, any dog has to be on a leash, if it's off its property, but it has to also be muscled.
Does it have to be on, so if they have it in their yard and when they're home, do they have to have it on a leash? Okay,
A dog on its property does not have to be leashed. Once it leaves its property,
when they, in this case, with somebody, as long as somebody's there with it. Right. Okay. Right.
So that's the thing, is, so we got a motion and a second that the, where am I? Oh, yeah, that she was the owner of the dog. The second one is the citation was a valid citation, and the fine be upheld to the $100. Okay? That's it. Hmm? Well, I
Sure,
mean,
I'm
if you-
sorry, yeah. Can we get a, you wanted a copy of this?
Yes. Daryl, can you make me a copy of this while we finish this?
I'm sorry, that's enough.
Make a copy of that and for our file here.
Okay.
Okay. Number 5. All we got to do is say no to all of them.
Any unfinished business other than the hearings?
No, sir.
Any new business other than the hearings?
No, sir.
Are there any announcements?
No, sir.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.